Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the council chambers. Today is August 15th, 2017, and we are about to start the town council meeting. If everyone would please stand and join in the pledge to the flag. Dale, could we please have the roll call?
Council President Healy.
Here.
Council Vice President Collins.
Here.
Councilman DeCruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Gledhill.
Here.
Councilman Veely.
Here.
All members present. Moving on to item number 4A, could I please have a motion to approve the work session of July 24th, the regular session of July 24th, and the closed executive session of July 24th, 2017?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no, motion carries. Item number 5, could I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda but remove item 8A from the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any oppositions? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to item number 6. This 6A is a resolution granting a holiday sales license to Kingston Mart, Fortin Road, Unit 2, application by Yusuf Akrasi in 259 Rogers Lane in Middletown. Do we have somebody who wants to come to the podium and speak? If so, please come and state your name for the record.
My name is Yusuf Akrasi. I live in 259 Rogers Lane in Middletown. I'm trying to open a convenience store in Kingston. It's going to be like a Kingston Mart. It's a little convenience store, like a little bit of everything, like groceries, eggs, milks, and all that stuff, plus tobacco, and that's it.
How many days a week will you be open, and what will be your hours?
7 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what were your hours?
It's going to be from 6 a.m. till 12 p.m.
Is this your only location in town, or do you have another one?
Yeah, just this is the only one.
I make a motion that we approve item 6A.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck with your business. Moving on to item number 6B. This is a miscellaneous permit to conduct a portion of the 26th annual Firm Half Iron Triathlon in South Kingstown, September 10th, to Firm Deer Run, Charlton, Massachusetts. And this is subject to a certificate of insurance naming the town as an additional insured for the event in the amount specified by the finance director, approval by the Rhode Island Department of Transportation, and subject to approval and conditions set forth by the Traffic and Transportation Review Committee. Proceeds of this will be benefiting the Narragansett Parks and Recreation. William Fisk is the race director, and am I to assume you're William Fisk?
No, I'm Fred Bartlett, 151 Ocean Road, apartment 32 in Narragansett. Okay. I'm the local coordinator for the Firm Man for the last 20-something years, 22 years. So I'm here on his behalf to answer any questions that y'all might have, or go over anything for the race. The race is September 10th, if it's approved through SK.
What portion, can you just tell us?
Yeah, sure. It's a half Ironman distance, so it's a long race, but in South Kingstown, we use very little of South Kingstown. We go up Narragansett East / Mumford Road on the bike course, and then we're on the state highway with approvals from the state, and then we go back down Mumford Road at the end of the bike course, or Narragansett East, back into Narragansett, right at the town line, back in there. So it's a real small section. The first bikers get there about 7:30 in the morning, and we're out of that area by 8:15, 8:30, all the bikers. The numbers have been going down over the years. We used to have 600 to 800 people doing this race and other races, and triathlon is spread out now. There's not as many races. I'm sorry, there's many more races than there used to be. On the run course, which is 13.1 miles, The area that we use in South Kingstown is from Narrow River Kayaks, the Narragansett line, down Middlebridge Road to 969, I'm sorry, a little bit past 969, which is Joan DeLuca's house. We do a U-turn on Middlebridge Road with South Kingstown Police present, and then back on Middlebridge Road. The runners are required to run against traffic as you would as a normal runner. Once they get past Narrow River Kayaks, they're back into Narragansett. So we use that on Sunday morning, and I have about 70 volunteers. A lot of them are South Kingstown volunteers. Same people, same places. So that's it. One thing I wanted to note, last year during the race, a South Kingston resident came to me right at the end of the bike portion and was very upset. He lives in an area called Spartina Cove, and when we first started the race, there was no Spartina Cove, and he said that he had issues with the bikers out there and that we weren't doing a very good job. And I showed him the list of 70 volunteers, and I assured him that this year it's a very good sight line. By that I mean it's on Route 1, so when you come around on the bike, everybody can see the bikers, the cars, but I assured him that I would have a volunteer at the entrance or the exit of Spartina Cove this year just to be flagging. It's the first time I've ever been aware of any issue at Spartina Cove. So even though we've done it all these years, we're still proactive. I'm only trying to make this better, safer, and try to get some numbers back. So that's what we use for South Kingstown.
Thank you. Make a motion to approve item 6B.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And nobody opposed? Good luck to your event. We wish you well. Moving on to the notice of public hearings, which is item number 7A, which is for the Class T legitimate theater liquor license. What I propose is we first have to go to item 13. No?
Wait until after the public hearing.
After the public hearing? Okay. Okay, perfect. Then this will be a public hearing relative to the application for a license to keep and sell alcoholic beverages in South Kingstown in accordance with the general laws of 1956. Class T legitimate theater liquor license. This is by the Contemporary Theater on Main Street by Terrence Simpson, who is the president for the indoor performance room and the outdoor patio in accordance with a special use permit granted on June 21st, 2017 by the Zoning Board of Review. Said license is contingent upon the issuance of the certificate of good standing from the Rhode Island Division of Taxation, issuance of a certificate of insurance evidencing required the liability coverage necessary and compliance with all town ordinance and regulations, the payment of any municipal taxes and user fees that may be in arrears to the town, and correction of any fire code violations. So it's your turn to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, members of the council. My name is Robert Donnelly. I'm with the law firm of Kelly, Kelleher, Riley & Simpson in North Kingstown, 1041 10 Rod Road. Here tonight representing Contemporary Theater Company. I have Terry Simpson, who's the president of the company, and I have his son Christopher Simpson, who's the executive director of the theater. As you can see, we're here asking for a theater license for the property at 321 Main Street. Yes, 327 Main Street is where the actual theater is presently located. It's directly behind Phil's Restaurant, and it's on the same property as Phil's Restaurant. The Contemporary Theater Company, that's a lease that they have with the owner of Phil's Restaurant, and there is presently liquor served in the theater by way of the liquor license that's held by Phil's Restaurant, which I'm assuming you expanded to allow them to do that at some point. This is for a separate piece of property the Contemporary Theater Company owns, which is directly behind the theater building, again behind Phil's, right up, butts up to the river. I'm assuming you probably know where it is. They have been conducting performances outside during the summer at the property that they own. They have workshops, etc., in the building. They have actually had liquor licenses in the past for that piece of property, separate one-day liquor licenses for special functions that have taken place there. So you already have a history of what has happened there with a liquor license, either through Phil's or through a separate liquor license. So it doesn't seem like a huge stretch that it'd be a big problem to have a theater license just for this piece of property. And as you probably you have in your packet, a theater license can only be used when there's actually something taking place on the property. It's not just you can have a night off with selling beers out in the backyard there. There has to be a function taking place, and the license and the theater liquor can only be served from an hour before the performance to an hour after the performance. So it's a very short period of time. This property is bordered by the walkway that goes across the river, which is approximately 10 feet high, the river, and then it's fenced off, so there's no access to the property other than through an entrance. So again, nobody can just be passing through the parking lot and decide to walk in and they want to get a drink. I mean, they have to be going to the function in order to be able to get served. Good standing certificate from the Secretary of State has been acquired. The taxation good standing has been applied for, hasn't been acquired yet. They have applied for a sales tax permit, and they've also applied for insurance, and they realize that all of that has to come in before they can actually pick up a license. If you would deem to grant the license, they can't get the license until all that takes place. That's about all I have. If you have any questions, Terry and Chris are here.
I'll just start off with a statement, Mike. I'll be recusing on this one as a board member of the theater, just for the record.
I just had a question. Were you going to have a permanent bar installed inside the building, or were you going to have something put out outside for performances to serve people, or?
This is Christopher Simpson.
Christopher Simpson, resident 321 Main Street
You
in
really got
Wakefield.
dressed up for us, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. I was happy to do it. I thought the 1920s style would appeal to the council. It happens to also align with the rehearsal that I have to go to right afterwards, so it's very convenient that your tastes align with the theater's tastes. Yes, we do not currently have plans to build a permanent structure at the time. For the time, it would be sort of folding tables and have a case by case. We only have 3 events a week out there currently. In the summertime, in the months of July and August, we have Monday night jazz concerts, which are free and open to the public. And on Wednesdays and Sundays, we have Shakespeare on the Saugatucket, and that's just July and August. Then the concerts do continue into whenever the weather gets cold, basically. And we have a festival in June, and that's it right now. So we don't foresee constructing anything for those purposes. Should it continue to expand and require something, I'm sure at that point we'd apply and go through the proper channels to have that done. But for now, that's not in the cards.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from the public who would like to come up and speak to this application? Seeing none, any members of the council?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Let's move on to item then 13A.
Thank you.
Done yet.
You're welcome. Yet. Item number 13A under new business is a resolution affirming or amending the town's liquor license rules and regulation. Section I, the current number of licenses for each class shall be authorized as indicated below unless changed by a majority vote of the town council. This would be going to Class T legitimate theater license, increasing that by 1. Any discussion? Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we increase the Class T legitimate theater liquor licenses in town from 2 to 3.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Let's go back then to item number 7A.
Motion to approve item 7A as presented.
All those in, second?
A second. I just want to say good luck, Chris. I think this is great. You guys are doing good things over there, so I hope this continues to thrive for you.
Yeah, we're proud of what you're doing over there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any oppositions? Motion carries unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
With 1 recusal.
With one recusal from Joe, for the record. The next item, which is 7B, is also a public hearing. However, This was to consider an application for amendment to a zoning map change for 200,000 square feet of Assessors Plat 14, Lot 65, which is the Cottrell Residence, Open Space Conservation and Recreation R200, which is rural, very low density. However, this needs to be changed and continued to September 11th, as the abutting property owners were not giving due rights to notification in time for this public hearing. So we ask at this point that this be continued.
Motion.
So the record will reflect that the public hearing has been opened, and now the motion.
Motion to continue the public hearing till September 11th.
It's going to be to September 11th at 7:30.
Till September 11th, 7:30.
Should we, just a quick question, can we receive comment now and continue it if there's anybody
No.
here for it?
No, you
Okay.
can't, because notice has not been given out. What we're doing by continuing the public hearing is avoiding the need for re-advertising.
Gotcha,
We
okay,
can only open it for that limited purpose.
okay.
Do we have a motion to continue this public
People
hearing?
made it.
Abel made it.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Moving on to communications, there was one received, item number 8A, from Sharon Gold concerning the environmental impact of carbon dioxide emissions from idling vehicles. It's received and referred to the Sustainability Committee. We might want to take this off and put it under communications, or if you would like to speak, now, that's fine. Just please, Ms. Gold, please state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Sharon Gold, and this is my very first town hall meeting. I moved here in 1995, so I'm a little nervous about this.
Well, we're glad to see you here.
Don't be nervous.
You don't bite.
And I live at 127 Crest Avenue in Wakefield. I think I feel very passionate about the environment. I'm involved with Citizens Climate Lobby, School of Oceanography. I attend every single lecture they have. And in addition to this, the thing that really, really concerns me is what is happening with climate change. I get the opportunity to speak to scientists, engineers, and when I bring it local, I see so many things that can be done within the town. My former background is that of a teacher, corporate trainer, university instructor, so I see education and changing human behavior as a really important thing to do. When I think about when I was looking up your bios, because I wanted to see who you were, I saw some key words that jumped out at me. Protecting, preserving quality of life in beaches, coastal issues, thinking of future generations, thinking about fiscal stability. And one that really, that I see again and again is the sense of trust and key values that are really important. I think it's an important role that local people must take on in terms of the environment. And I have taken it upon myself. I met with the town manager, Steve Alfred, a couple of weeks ago, to almost start a one-man show by literally, politely, addressing 25 drivers a week to please ask them to consider turning their engines off, giving them this simple handout to reduce pollution, protect your health, and save money. For every 10 minutes your engine is off, you prevent 1 pound of CO2 being released, an environmental defense quote. There are just things that I think individual citizens can do. I constantly observe idling. They come to look at the beautiful seawall, and they'll sit with their cars and engine on, running. There are workmen in several places that have trucks going that don't necessarily need to keep going. So one of the things that I kind of see as a plan in my head is to think of establishing idle-free zones. I've gotten the director of the YMCA to actually put up signs for idle-free, and it's made a tremendous difference. Of course, education with changing social behavior. possibly thinking of the town to use social media as a way to alert, because I think many people don't realize that simple behavior of leaving their engines on when they don't need to, what the impact is on the environment. With regards to thinking about police and various organizations, I've done my research, and I found a device that I was speaking to the captain of the Glastonbury Police Department, who uses a device called Idle-Right. I did research on this, and what it does, because police need to keep their flashers going and their instruments, it basically monitors the battery. It shuts the engine, and just at the point where the battery cannot no longer operate this device and keep the things going, it will turn the engine back on. And I asked the captain how this worked in your town. He said what it did is he tried it on several police cars. It saves money, saves gas, saves pollution, and it doesn't keep the engines running constantly. Within, he said, he thought 8 months to a year, he got his return back on this particular device. And where I see it being used is emergency vehicles, Department of Transportation trucks. Lots of times along the road you see a pickup truck with an arrow for signage, just basically directing people. You don't need a truck just going. Paving, municipal vehicles. As I did the research and investigated different towns across the country, a lot of municipalities were trying different things, from idling laws that were enforced and things like that. I'm not an expert. I'm a concerned citizen who really moved to South Kingston because it's a beautiful place. The ocean is taking a lot of the CO2 in to the point where it's really impacting what's happening to our ocean, our wetlands, and I really care about this town. I care about the planet and definitely future generations. I was in Washington in June, meeting our local congressman and talking about carbon fee and dividend, and there's a lot of momentum with that, believe it or not, in Washington. There's a caucus with 26 Republicans and 26 Democrats in this day and age. It's hard to believe, but it exists, and they are working on that, and that's a whole separate issue. But thank you for listening to me. I really hope something happens with this, and I'm glad to help in any way I can.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Question. Thank you for your comments. I just wanted to let you know that we do have two committees that might interest you, the Sustainability Committee and then the Biking and Pedestrian Committee. And just listening to your expertise, it sounds like either one of those committees you would be a huge asset to. And we're hoping that we'll get those kinds of ideas from them. I love the Idle-Right, what you suggested, and that's the kind of stuff we want these groups to kind of look into and tell us what we can do. So
I found out about Idle-Right because I've been in touch with the executive director of Idle Free California. He does it for the state, and he's a wealth of information. He actually came from Burlington, Vermont, and he's done a lot of stuff there, and he has been my contact. I've been talking to police all over the country pretty much. So this is what I do since I've retired. I'm connecting with my passion, and this is it. Save the environment. Start in South Kingston.
Sure, and I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
I had brought my car in for service one time and took a loaner car. They didn't tell me that this particular car had a special feature, and when I hit, I think, Route 1 at a stoplight, it turned off on me. Which, to my surprise, I was like, what's wrong with the car? But then I hit the pedal and it turned back on. So is that something that's coming down the line with a lot of vehicles? Are you aware of that at all?
No, not at all. Not at all. But what I do know is when I could probably write a book on some of the things people tell me when I ask them to shut their engines. This one woman said that I think she was driving a BMW, and she said that there was something that shuts the engine. She said, I probably should do that now instead of sitting and idling, right?
Yep. There's a switch in that car.
Yes, and sometimes that could be triggered. So I knew some of the newer models, but I'm not an expert on this. But it's a great idea. Were you able to start it and get going?
Yeah, I just hit the gas and it was good.
Put your foot on the gas.
And I wish they would have told me before I left,
Well, I think one of the things, once you mention this, and I find that whenever I mention this to anybody about idling, you will start to notice how many people just sit in their cars because it's behavior. They don't even realize the engine's on half the time. They're just sitting there, and that's
Notice
just
it
spewing.
after tonight. I will notice it after tonight. I truthfully will.
Well, you can help me give out these brochures.
I'd be glad to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
On any, on item number 8A, will this be moving to the Sustainability Committee, or I think that would be a good place for us to start to get the ball rolling for you? And thank you for taking the time to come forward. Do I have a...
So I'll make a motion to place item 8A on file and refer it to the Sustainability Committee.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any oppositions? Seeing none, motion carries. Good luck. Good luck. Moving on to 8B, which is a communication dated July 31st, 2017, W. Colin McCullough, tendering his resignation from the Library Board of Trustees. It's placed on file, and we will further direct. I know he's done a wonderful job during his tenure.
I make a motion that we accept Colin's resignation and send him a letter of gratitude.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries. Moving on to C, which is a communication dated August 9th from Councilwoman Gledhill concerning the status of the Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding program. It's received, and we further direct as follows.
I just asked that this be placed on the agenda because I wanted an update from the town manager on the situation with the CDBG funds that are not being issued this year and how it affects some of our local applicants. I especially was interested in some of the projects that the Welcome House is working on because of this council's interest in affordable housing, and I was hoping that there is something, whether it's a shared service or a grant opportunity or something that the town might be able to do to sort of leverage the Welcome House as they take on these really big endeavors and not just, when I think of the Welcome House, I think of a shelter that's transient, and they really seem to be tackling the long-term housing issues, offering permanent housing to people that's affordable, and I think that that's a really worthy cause, and just wanted to discuss the status of that program and if there's any opportunities for us to step in and help. I don't know if you had some stuff to add to that, Steve.
I think the main concern is that we need to bring public light to the fact that the 2016 CDBG program has, for all intents and purposes, been canceled by the state, and a determination has to be made on what steps can be taken to prevent that from again occurring in the 2017 year. We have forwarded a letter to the governor's office asking her office to deal with this issue directly and to provide some guidance to the departments that have taken what appears to be unilateral steps in terms of making policy decisions that I'm not sure are aware at the governor's level. But I think this is important because when we look at all of our human service agencies, most of those agencies are receiving some funding through the Community Development Block Grant Program, whether it's for operational assistance, whether it's for food assistance, or whether it's for capital improvement assistance. So it's not just Welcome House or Johnny Cake, it's domestic violence, it's all of the different agencies that will suffer if, in fact, this program were to go out of existence. And there needs to be a better definition at the state level as to how communities can define what their priorities are and see the federal dollars that are supposed to address low and moderate income needs in the community have some say in the matter rather than the state making their own arbitrary decisions on where the funding will go. So I don't think this is anywhere from a closed issue at this point, and we're hopeful that we will see some type of a response either through the Department of Administration or through the governor's office on whether or not they agree with the policy decisions that have been made by the Office of Housing.
Steve, can you also touch on what you said the Affordable Housing Collaborative is doing this year with the money that we gave them?
The Council's capital improvement program for the existing year call for the transfer of $100,000 into the Affordable Housing Fund Reserve. And that money is to be used for affordable housing purposes. One of the purposes that the council defined in the capital improvement program was the development of a study to look at what does affordable housing mean in South Kingstown and what the need is. Is it for single family, condominium? Is it for apartment? Is it for age restricted or family? And how do we best address it? Are there specific locations within the community that incentives should be provided or density bonuses provided? And what we wanted to do is to get that type of a study completed. An RFP, as I mentioned earlier, has been drafted. It will be finalized, and we will be looking at working both with the Planning Board and Affordable Housing Committee on approving the scope of services, getting a consultant in place, and then hopefully being able to find ways to be able to leverage local monies with philanthropic and state or federal dollars to be able to promote better affordable housing within South Kingstown. We're assuming that that study will be in the $30,000 range of the $100,000. The council has on 2 occasions used money from affordable housing to assist domestic violence agency in terms of advancing their affordable housing activities. And we will continue to be able to work with any of the agencies to be able to support those efforts. But at this point, CDBG is an important aspect of affordable housing support programming.
Whatever we can do to further that cause or offer support to that, I'd love to be kept in the loop on that. And any opportunities that we can coordinate with those organizations to help them, you know, if this program is indeed canceled for indefinitely, if we can find other funding opportunities. As I mentioned, any kind of joint grant applications or something that come up.
We will give it our best effort.
Thank you, Steve.
How do we further direct?
I'll make a motion to receive the communication and place it on file. Also noting that I think we should be appreciative that, you know, town manager has reached out to the governor and is trying to find a resolution, and sooner is better, but you know my famous saying.
Nothing moves slower than government.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries, which brings us on to D, a communication from Edward Terwilliger III, tendering his resignation from the Economic Development Committee. It's received and placed on file, and the further direction of the council is as follows.
Motion to receive, accept and receive the resignation of Mr. Terwilliger and send him a letter of appreciation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no oppositions, that brings us to item number 9, which is comments from interested citizens. If anybody from the audience would like to certainly come up to the podium, state your name, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or accolades, this would be your time to do it. So if anybody would like to come up to the podium to speak, please do so. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joe Joback, and I'm the director of Welcome House. I also live at 37 East Matunic Farm Drive in South Kingstown. On the issue of CBDG, I appreciate the efforts of the council to bring it forth, and I appreciate the town manager's letter that went to the governor. I just want to give a little backstory to it and then just end with a kind of real-time story. So typically, CBDG money would come to Welcome House in each calendar year, usually in the middle of the year. I know the town put forth our operational request of $50,000 for operation and $100,000 for capital. In about November, I started asking the Department of Housing and Community Development when they thought the CBDG decisions would be made. And I was told at that time that there was no definitive time frame, but it would probably be made sometime after the first of the year, which typically is what happens. After January, I talked with Mike Tondra. In February, I talked with Mike Tondra. In fact, he was at the Faces of Homelessness play that we put on at the Contemporary Theater Company. And Mike even addressed the group. I asked him then, I said, when is the CBDG money going to come at all? And he said, well, we haven't quite made a decision. I reached out to Senator Reid's office at the end of April, and I asked them about CBDG, and they said, well, you know, CBG, we saved it. We're going to have it in 2017. I said, that's great, but if it doesn't get down to the local level, what good is it? So he called Housing and Community Development. He spoke with Laura Sullivan. He got back to me, and he said, spoke to Laura Sullivan. She said, it's not a foregone conclusion, Joe, that CBDG money is not going to come. Now, somebody might say you could have made a course correction back in the winter, right? You think you're not going to get the funding, readjust your budget. Well, there's not a lot at Welcome House. There's staff positions, and you pay to keep the lights on, etc. And because I never got a definitive decision that the money wasn't coming, we didn't make that course correction. In fact, as late as May, I was told the decision might be made in July for the previous year. We have not counted on any CBDG money this year, but I can tell you I have about a $40,000 deficit from last year, which we're trying to make up by fundraising and doing other kinds of things. The lack of transparency is certainly a concern, and I just hope that if we're going to have a sustainable program, then by God, we got to have some assurances that if there is a pot of money that we can access. I said to, I've said to the governor, you need to have multiple year contracts. Other places that I've been, you sign a contract 2-3 years. At least you know there's some money there. I write a grant to the Consolidated Homeless Fund. I may get what I asked for. I may get less. I may get more. I was told write 2 grants this year, one for the house that we purchased for women's shelter and one for Welcome House. No communication. I sent in 2 proposals. They didn't fund the women's shelter. When I asked why, if I could at least have an explanation from my board of directors, I was told we don't need any more shelter beds. I just came from South County Hospital with a 21-year-old woman who has a horrendous history of abuse, childhood abuse. Her legs are swollen like oak trees. She has a thyroid problem. She has not been to an endocrinologist. We have been encouraging her. We have gotten her to Thundermist. She was in a lot of pain today. She has a job at Scallop Shell. She's starting tomorrow. She didn't want to go to the hospital because she thought she wouldn't be able to start work tomorrow, and if she didn't start, she'd be fired. And if they admitted her at South County Hospital, she would lose her bed at Welcome House, because that's what's supposed to happen. If somebody leaves Welcome House, we are supposed to fill that bed with a phone call from 211. I don't do that. I believe firmly we have to take care of our own, and we're going to keep that bed for her. And when I leave her tonight, I'm going to go back there because she doesn't have any other family. We're more than a bed and a hot meal. We're more than a shelter. We are trying to help people get jobs. Talk about housing, and I won't take up any more of your time because I know you've been here long already. We have a private investor who is purchasing a house, and we in turn are going to lease it from him and sublet it to people in our program. It will cost them about $500 a month apiece. They can't go out. Many of these people are not making the income, or they have debts where their wages get attached for back support, trying to get their license, etc. Or they don't have good credit, where we can put a couple of those people together. They can rent a house, get employed, save some money, and then eventually move on or whatever. The whole idea of the other house that we purchased by refinancing, Welcome House, was to try to separate the men from the women. We have 13 men living with 4 women. Oftentimes the women are victims of domestic violence. It's just not a great situation. I think we've done a great job. Police and fire never go to Welcome House unless somebody's in a medical emergency. You can check the record on that. You don't have people panhandling on the streets like you do in Providence, Cranston, Warwick, Park Avenue. I think there's a reason for that. You know, we are a resource and people know it. But if the only funding we get from the government is Consolidated Homeless Fund, it's not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. So I hope we can work with, you know, your affordable housing group. I think we have some ideas. I'm sort of giving up on the government, the state. There's never, ever, ever a state official comes down this way for a state meeting. All the homeless meetings are up north. I realize now it's being taped. I'll probably have my CH money cut some more. But, I mean, the reality of it is that people don't understand the needs that we have down here. And I just want to conclude by saying, thank God we have the community we have. People are generous with donations of food, with clothing, with money. One other thing we're doing with Ocean State Job Lot, we have a special employment program going. We have the VP for Ocean State Job Lot on a board of directors. I've met with their corporate people in Quonset. We have a couple of people who started work at Ocean State Job Lot, and the intention is to grow it as kind of an employment pod. So I thank you very much for listening to my comments here. I realize we're on the same team. It's just a little frustrating that, you know, if we'd been told in November it's not going to happen this year, you make some adjustments. It's very hard late in the game to be led on, as I feel we were, and then suddenly just don't get anything. And same thing for the other organizations that depend on CBDG money. Thank you very much, and thank you for doing the jobs that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up to speak. Any other comments from citizens in the audience? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 10, the town manager. Oh, go ahead.
That's okay.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you, Joe, for those comments. We've talked a little bit about some of the endeavors you guys are taking on, and I know Bryant and I were at the ribbon cutting for the women's shelter that you recently opened for women and children, and the stories that you shared and the work that you did in there was amazing. And I especially love that you're tackling not just transient housing. You're saying we're going to find a way to get you stable and get a permanent place to live. And I think that's really important when we discuss affordable housing and having that part of the discussion. And I know one house with 5 shared rooms is not a solution, but it's a place to start. And it's very profound, the stories that you just shared. And I think a lot of people forget that homelessness exists in all parts of the state. But there are a lack of resources in South County for sure. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I think we're going to work together in the future, this council and this town hall and the staff here. We're going to find some opportunities, hopefully, to collaborate. But on a much less somber note, I just wanted to give a shameless plug to the Downtown Merchants Association and the River Fire that they have on Thursday nights. It seems to be really building, and I go downtown on Thursdays and see so many people from the community and businesses and people on Main Street enjoying the Saugatucket River, people who've lived in town their entire lives that did not know that the river was back there, which always makes me laugh. It's amazing to see people come out, and I hope people will come out, especially this week. We have a big event planned, a luau, if you will, and we always keep those donation-based, so they are free to anybody who wants to come. We ask for donations, but you certainly don't have to, because we want to make sure everybody knows that they can come and they're welcome, and bring their kids and experience what a great sense of community we have. We saw it on Sunday night at the vigil here at the steps of the town hall, and we see it through the donations that go into the Welcome House. We are so fortunate to live in the town that we do with the people that we do. So hope people realize that and capitalize on it.
I'd like to add something. Liz and I have been fortunate to be on the committee that's evaluating our education in our town. And there's significant milestones that are coming up very soon. So if people aren't aware, they should go to the school administration website, which there'll be links where they can get more information about getting involved. One of the things that I just want to, as a town council member, I know that we don't make the decisions for the school committee, but I do feel strongly that I think all options should be on the table or being considered, because I feel that if you can brainstorm, maybe you might figure out a different way or a better way. One of the things personally that I think is really important, or that we should look at as one of the options, and I think I mentioned in the visioning speech or segment that it was probably a little crazy, but I am a little crazy sometimes, was the one campus concept. I know it's a little bit different, but what I look at is, do you go around spending money to repair an older facility? You have to look at how much that's going to cost versus building something new. And when I talk about one campus, I'm talking about one centralized location in town where you have elementary, middle school, and high school. And I see an economies of scale, but also shared services, transportation, students and teachers being able to teach at different levels or taking different classes in more of a personalized learning approach. So I just wanted to bring that up just as something for the community to think about. Thank you.
Any other comments here at the table? Seeing none, I move to item number 11, the town solicitor's, town manager's report.
Quickly they forget.
Never forget you, Steve.
Two road projects I did want to comment on. High Street project, we will have night construction going on starting Sunday night and on Monday night, so that they will do the final pavement on that project. Hopefully this week we'll see landscaping that will be finished, as well as the signage that needs to be installed. And hopefully by midweek next week, we will have a completed product as far as the road surface itself and all of the sidewalks.
Are we going to have a party? Like, can we just dance down High Street when it's done?
Yeah, Bodie Miller was in town last week, swallowing course. I think that what's been done so far has been an excellent job. Certainly there's been a good deal of disruption, but we all anticipated that we would see what we have seen in terms of the amount of work. To remove that entire road and sidewalk and to place in a new one certainly has taken a great deal of time. The other project that's still underway is the South Road project. Final paving was completed on the first segment of that. We're moving from south to north. So we're up to, I think, the second main subdivision. That'll be finished tomorrow, so hopefully that road will be completed as well. I also note that our stone seal program has also been closed for the year. That's all been completed. So we've made some considerable progress in terms of infrastructure improvements over the last 8 weeks. With that, I got no further comments. I'll answer any questions council may have.
About the infrastructure dollars, I remember back when we were going over a capital improvement plan, I asked about potentially having some extra money for striping this year, and you said maybe...
I won't know until we do the final, because that's we pay based on the unit pricing, so until we see what that looks like, I'm not going to know what we have as far as reserves or where we go from there.
Okay.
And surprise, surprise, I have a question. With the rate hikes with National Grid, as a municipality, are we doing anything to oppose that or offer our opinion on it, or how we weigh in on that?
Well, the town hasn't taken a position on it. I'm not sure. I think that the real issue is what the rate filing shows as far as where their costs are coming from. No one was opposed to the fact that they dropped the rates a year ago with the in terms of what the rates got down to where they are, where they had been up over 10 cents. So they're going back up. They're going back and forth at this point. And again, it's not on the total bill. It's simply on the bill for the actual power that's being used. I can take a look at it, but we haven't taken a position, and I'm not sure we're qualified to unless we acted as an intervener, because we won't be heard by PUC unless we establish an intervener status. I'd let Mike comment on what the ground rules are for that.
Okay.
Mike, I guess we'll...
I just wanted to add one quick thing to town manager report. I actually brought my son to breakfast today at the Ocean Mist, and I actually stood out there for a while and took a good look at the finished product, and I was quite impressed, by the actual wall. And I know that we have a little bit more left to finish there, and our goal is to continue that wall. But I see no problem with the wall whatsoever.
I think the main thing to continue to remember is that the wall that we constructed needs to be continued for a public safety purpose. The analysis that's been done since 2011 clearly indicates that even the reconstruction of the old wall is not sufficient in a major hurricane. And if we're going to, from a public safety protect the drive surface of that road, the completion of that wall is critical to the community's health and safety.
Any other?
Steve just mentioned the whole idea of you can't be heard before the PUC unless you file a motion to intervene, show that you have standing. It's quite a very involved process, actually. I've done it before in another context. I'm familiar with how that is done. There are going to be hearings coming up. My suggestion, and the hearings will be very prolonged. There are a number of organizations that are going to be opposing this. If you listen to what they have to say, and I believe this to be true, they're just passing on costs. They're not making any profit on it. Whatever the cost is to them, they're simply passing on to the ratepayers. Just like when costs went down, they reduced the prices because there was nothing to pass on. I think it would be best, let's take a wait and see for right now. Let's see what else is going on, what kind of coalitions are out there. There may be other communities, like I'm thinking some of the bigger ones that this would be a very large impact on, and it may very well be that we can join them. So,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just curious.
Just in general. So I'll be sure I keep my eye on it too.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Any other comments, Mike? Mike, do you have any other comments? Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to 12A, do we have any appointments that we would like to make tonight or discuss tonight?
I'll make a resolution to appoint Sarah Daly to the Economic Development Committee.
Second.
Before we vote on that, I just want to make a note that I do know Sarah personally, but I feel I can be completely objective in this appointment.
I just had one quick question regarding Sarah. I thought on the on what was passed out, her last name was different. Is that
Both are there. She prefers Daly.
Right.
Okay.
So we made a second, right?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion.
March 2019, yep. I'll make a second resolution to appoint Mario Berschetti to the Library Board of Trustees for a term to expire July 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any oppositions? Seeing none, motion carries.
And another resolution for reappointment to the Conservation Commission of Mary Talbot Rabuano for a term to expire September 2020.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business 13C, which is a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Tasker Ford in Berlin, Connecticut for 2017 Ford 350 F-350 truck with a snowplow in the amount not to exceed $26,375, including the trade-in. And this is further described as a memorandum to the town manager of July 25th, 2017.
As noted in the report, 4 bidders submitted proposals. Recommendation is to award to the lowest qualified bidder.
Motion to approve item 13C as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to D, a resolution authorizing an award of bid to Stoneham Motor Company in Stoneham, Massachusetts for 2017 Ford 350 pickup truck with a liftgate, an amount not to exceed $31,500, including the trade-in, with an authorization that $1,508 be appropriated from the wastewater fund's unrestricted net assets, in addition to available CIP funding. And this is described again on July 25th in a memo to the town manager.
Again, the recommendation is to go with the lowest submitted bid. 3 bids were received for this vehicle.
I noticed that there was only like $100 or $200 between this and the next highest bid, and this one, the next highest bid was local. Is there any like charge for transportation of this vehicle or anything?
They'll deliver the vehicle.
Okay.
They'll deliver the vehicle, and we'll do all the warranty work in town.
It's Wakefield, Massachusetts, too.
Oh, it wasn't. Sorry.
I always do that when I see that. I think it's this one.
All right. Motion to approve item 13D is presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's a unanimous vote. Seeing no oppositions, we're moving on to item E, which is a resolution amending an award contract originally authorized on June 13th of 2011, which had been amended in October of 2011, July of 2014, and November 2016 to St. Jean Engineering LLC, located in East Greenwich. This is for consulting engineering services to prepare Matunic shoreline protection design plans and specifications for an amount not to exceed $131,900 to an amount not to exceed $181,900. That's including a contingency, and that is detailed in a memorandum from John Schock on July 25th to, entitled Matunic Beach Road Protection Project Engineering.
As noted in John Schock's memorandum of July 25th, we're recommending a $50,000 increase in the value of the St. Jean Engineering contract for the Matunic Beach Road Shoreline Fortification Program. As Council is aware, we've completed the first phase of that, which is the installation of around 180 feet of the seawall. We'll await the movement of the Ocean Mist building to be able to complete the last 20 feet. What we need to do at this point is to get engineering design details completed for the phase 2, which would be the continued construction of the seawall that would move in a westerly direction to the Trailer Park Association's property. We would need to get the engineering design completed and applications filed with Coastal Resource Management Council for an assent to be able to complete that work. The council will recall at the last council meeting, with the approval of the Transportation Improvement Plan recommendations, the number one priority was funding of the continuation of this wall program. I think council has had an opportunity to review the construction to date, as well as to look at the ongoing erosion that has occurred in the subject area. The engineering contract itself will be worth $30,000 for the detailed design plans. We're asking for $50,000, which would address any of the changes that are going to be necessary or the multiple meetings that may be necessary prior to the time before we end up in public session before the Coastal Council. So we see this as a continuation of the town's effort to provide for public safety in that Matunic road area. Certainly the cost of installing the remaining portions of that wall could exceed $3 million. We have not defined a funding source. We are hopeful that if the project were accepted into the state transportation plan, that a major portion, if not all of that cost, could be recovered through that program. Short of any of those funds coming forward, this may become a municipal project within the capital improvement program. We would then have to look at how funding would be achieved with that type of a program. But before we get to that point, we need to determine what the engineering detail would be and the terms and conditions that would be necessary on any assent granted by Coastal. So I'd ask the council's approval as presented on tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any oppositions? Seeing none, we'll move on to item G, which is a resolution accepting for town ownership and maintenance the road that's associated, the infrastructure with the Woods on Laurel Lane subdivision, further identified as Cyrus Court and described in a warranty deed from Green Hill Builders LLC to the town of South Kingstown. Said deed shall be recorded in South Kingstown Land Evidence Records. In support of this action, the developer has posted a $34,563 maintenance bond to guarantee the site infrastructure and landscaping for a period of 3 years beginning July 31st, 2017. Said guarantee shall not be released until the conditions imposed by the Planning Board on June 13th have been satisfied. Said road and acceptance is further described in a memorandum from the Director of Planning to the Town Manager. Street acceptance of Cyrus Court.
It's been approved through the planning board. We're ready to accept the road for maintenance.
Motion to approve agenda item 13G.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next on our agenda is item number H, which entitles a resolution authorizing award of contract for the position of town manager to a recruitment plan with bid specifications. I think that's something we're going to move to the closed executive session once this hearing is.
We're requesting that the council go into closed executive session at this time, and once completed, to then
We'll
go
go back.
into public session again and address that item, if the council's in a position to make a bid award.
I make a motion, we move into closed executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A5 to discuss matters related to the disposition of publicly held property where in advance public information would be detrimental to the interest of the public, and pursuant to RI General Law 42-46-5A7 to discuss matters related to the question of investment in public funds where the premature disclosure would adversely affect the public interest.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this point, then, I would ask that the meeting be moved to the regular session be closed right now, and that we move into closed executive session.
He's a hot ticket.